Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and the Master League Premier Cup has returned to Go Battle League once again. In today's video, I'm bringing back a fan favorite Pokemon in this format. No, not the Quick Attack Starmie. I'm probably saving that one for when Mega Starmie ends up releasing later this summer, but my Shundo bottle-capped Kingambit. I think Kingambit is one of the best Pokemon you can use in the Master Premier Cup. Its unique Dark Steel typing allows it to core break a lot of Metagross plus Fairy teams, and it's just very bulky. The game state during these battles was honestly not the greatest, but overall the team was able to persevere and still go very positive. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches. We have a battle of fairy types in the first game, Florges into Primarina. Now Primarina this season is going to be running Waterfall. Waterfall did get an update I believe one season ago, which did rework its parameters, and overall that does make Primarina a pretty neutral presence. However, in my eyes, even though it does neutral things in a lot of matchups, it doesn't really dominate a lot of matchups either. I'm able to switch out, get a Hydro Cannon catch onto my Gyarados, and as they farm up to a Disarming Voice, I'm very comfortable letting that go as well. My opponent's going to pivot out, and the reveal, they're sending in their own Kingambit. Now, one of the most effective ways of walling off Kingambit energy is actually your own Kingambit. Unfortunately, I'm not quite able to make the next Aqua Tail before they're able to fire off the Foul Play. I was going to throw 3 in the move and look to pivot, so I end up putting up a shield, and then switching my Kingambit into theirs. Now this is a matchup where there are truly no winners. You can't really do any damage in a Kingambit mirror unless you're running Focus Blast. Now if my opponent was running Focus Blast, I would just lose the game on the spot, but most Kingambit opt for Foul Play plus Iron Head. Foul Play is your move for neutral situations and for beating Metagross, and Iron Head is what allows you to beat the fairies. So in this matchup, it's just a war of attrition. There is a massive amount of resisted damage getting fired back and forth. But my goal is to try and exit the matchup with as much residual energy as possible. My opponent still has that Primarina lurking, but the Primarina did take quite a lot of damage. I'm able to get the full Metal Sound down, exiting up a ton of energy. In comes Primarina, and I will go for the Foul Play. Foul Play is resisted, but Primarina's stats are not the best. Foul Play does take the knockout, and in the back is Rhyperior. At this point, this game is over. My opponent's counts are perfect, and they know I don't have enough for an Iron Head. But even so, I still have the Florges, and I have a ton of stored energy on the Gyarados. So now I just get to spam out infinite Chilling Waters. My opponent knows it's over. They're just not going to shield up the Chilling Water, and we're able to get the Game 1 win. Hopping into game number 2, leading Florges into the opponent's Garchomp. This is a pretty good lead matchup. Well, at least I thought it was, until I played out the matchup. Garchomp is an absolute wrecking ball in this meta. This team is ABA strong to Garchomp, but look at how much work Garchomp puts in against Florges. Garchomp's able to land the Earth Power. That does like 2/3 of my health bar. I fire off the Moonblast, they put up the shield, and now I'm a little bit worried that if my opponent ends up baiting correctly, they may actually be able to flip here. In hindsight, maybe I could have gone for a Chilling Water bait, but I really don't like going for Chilling Water baits in the Master Premier Cup, a lot of the time just because everything is so bulky. It feels like a no-shielded Chilling Water is a lot more punishing in this format. My opponent has farmed up a ton of energy, I put up the shield, there's the bait I was worried about, and they pivot out and send in Metagross. Now I get to respond to Metagross with Kingambit. Now Metagross does have access to Earthquake, and Earthquake did get buffed this season. Earthquake is super effective damage, so why did I bring in Kingambit? Well, I told you, Kingambit is very bulky. Earthquake connects, Kingambit survives, and I'm going to make the Foul Play and win the Zero Shield matchup. I do still have the Moonblast stored, lurking in the back, and my opponent ends up waiting down their timer here. They bring in the Garchomp, switch timer comes up, and I can combo play with the Moonblast. Moonblast is going to be super effective damage, KOing the Garchomp, but in the back is Dragonite, and that is very bad news for me. I fire off the immediate Chilling Water. This will put them at -1 attack, but Dragonite has access to Thunder Punch. Even at -1 attack, Thunder Punch will still shred through my Gyarados, so this game could come down to a catch. They're forced to fire off energy. Thunder Punch takes the knockout. Weirdly, the charge move buttons stay on screen for too long there, and I bring in the Gyarados. I farm up, switch into Kingambit, get the game-winning sack swap, and we're gonna survive. Thunder Punch lands onto the 1 HP Kingambit. Back in comes the Gyarados with that Twister loaded, and we're gonna get the win. It's very difficult to build a Kingambit team that isn't very weak to Dragonite, so any win that I can get over Dragonite, I'm very happy. We move to the next match, leading Florges into Magnazone, and on paper, I should be very worried here, because in theory, Magnazone should be triple strong into my entire team. However, if Magnazone is not running Flash Cannon, then it actually does not do particularly well into Florges. Allow this lead matchup to demonstrate. I'm able to get a Chilling Water debuff up before they're able to make a Mirror Shot. They can fire off back-to-back Mirror Shots, but my Florges will very comfortably survive. This will allow me to make another Chilling Water, and at the very least, they're going to be deep into the red HP. So Chilling Water is going to land, they're barely able to hang on, they make it to a third Mirror Shot, and Florges has definitely done its job. My opponent goes for the Mirror Shot, it misses the knockout, and Florges is able to win the Zero Shield into Magnazone. Florges is just absolutely stupid. How did it just beat a Magnazone into zeros? This is why I could run Triple Weak to Magnazone, because Magnazone is a bum. My opponent gets a Waterfall head start on Primarina, and now I send in Kingambit. This is going to be a battle with a lot of neutral damage being fired back and forth. I fire off the Iron Head, they put up the shield, and they're more than likely going to be firing off Hydro Cannon. If this is a Moon Blast, this would hurt, but Hydro Cannon, not going to be a particularly big problem for Kingambit. I decide that I will match shields here because I do have a decent amount of energy, and these metal sounds are getting them lower and lower. Ironhead won't quite take the knockout, but it could set up a pretty nice metal sound down for the Gambit, so I fire off Ironhead, they double shield, and I realize there's something in the back that's weak to Kingambit. So I throw one metal sound and transfer the waterfall damage onto the Gyarados, and no shield as they go for Disarming Voice. In the back, my opponent reveals their final Pokemon is going to be Metagross, so they're running an ABA Steel team. ABA Steel is very risky considering that Shadow Rhyperior is a very real Pokemon in this format, but the good news for me is that Kingambit is obviously very strong into Metagross, and up this much energy, Gyarados is making their life very awkward as well. I decide that the final shield of the match will go here. I cannot afford to take any extra damage on Kingambit. I'm gonna need all of Kingambit's HP to survive the waterfalls. Aqua Tail will take the knockout, in comes Primarina, I pivot into Kingambit, we get to the Iron Head, and now I have to hope. Primarina's stats are not the greatest, Iron Head is gonna connect, Primarina falls, and we're somehow able to escape with the win. We pick up a terrible lead in the next match, Florges into Metagross. I save switch into Gyarados, but it looks like my game ended up starting behind by a turn or two there, because I believe I should have more energy here on Gyarados than I actually do. They chip me with a Meteor Mash, they bring out Annihilape, this is a low kick Annihilape, and this might be the greatest bait out in recorded human history. I am incredibly happy to have baited out the Annihilape, because obviously that would absolutely obliterate my Kingambit in the back. In the meantime, I'm just going to keep spamming out Aqua Tail after Aqua Tail, trying to make life as uncomfortable as possible for the Annihilape. Annihilape will go for the close combat, fails to take the KO, I barely hang on, surviving the low kick, and I'm able to make a third Aqua Tail. This Aqua Tail will force a shield advantage out of that mid game, and now I've baited out Annihilape, I've gotten a shield advantage, and I'm feeling very, very good about Kingambit's ability to sweep this endgame. They go for the close combat, just looking to reduce farm. I don't quite have the Chilling Water, so I bank the Chilling Water and bring in Kingambit. In the back, my opponent has Fury Cutter Golisopod. I believe that Golisopod should probably be on Fury Cutter in this meta, even though there's a lot of matchups where Fury Cutter can be resisted, like let's say Florges. Fury Cutter is just a very good move with same type attack bonus, so Fury Cutter actually has the same damage per turn as Shadow Claw from Golisopod in matchups like that. Kingambit is very bulky, so I'm able to no-shield the first move. I end up shielding the second as they go for the Aqua Jet, and I'm going to overfarm quite a bit, and I have to hope the Foul Play takes the KO. If it doesn't, however, I have a sneaky play. I land the move, pivot back into the Florges, and fire off the Chilling Water. Chilling Water is going to guarantee the final shield or the knockout, and with Golisopod out of the way, my opponent simply has no ability to win this game. I have a ton of energy still stored on the Kingambit, and now I'm just going to fire off Chilling Waters and basically just annoy my opponent into taking the knockout with Meteor Mash. Once my Florges has been KO'd, Kingambit with the shield still intact will be able to take home the win. So I bring back in Kingambit, and now I'm only a few metal sounds away from the back-to-back foul plays and the guaranteed win. First foul play will get the shield, I make foul play number 2 on the CMP type, but still having that final protect shield intact, not letting Golisopod make it to that third Aqua Jet, ends up being the game winner here, as foul play knocks out Metagross, and we get the win. We move to the next match, leading Florges into a Shadow Garchomp that is an incredibly cool pick. My opponent save switches into Metagross, and I'm going to send out Kingambit. One can argue that Gyarados is the better counter swap here, but now that Metagross has Shadow Claw, Gyarados actually has lose cons into Metagross. Even though Metagross's energy is walled off, that's the power of neutral Shadow Claw. Shadow Claw just does so much damage over time. So I decided to bring in Kingambit. Here, arguably, I think I made a pretty big misplay. Kingambit can always win the zeros by surviving Earthquake. So what I should have done is just no-shielded, and then forced my opponent to full send the Earthquake in order to take the knockout. If I end up calling a Meteor Mash bait, which they ended up going for, then the game is just instantly over. But even if they full send the Earthquake, I can always pressure Shield Advantage or Switch Advantage, and either one would be pretty good considering I'm ABA strong into the Garchomp. Now the Garchomp has a shield advantage. I send in the Gyarados. In the back is a Shadow Magnazone, and I have made a very costly error. Magnazone normally not a problem for this team because I'm on even shields or even energy. But this is a shield advantage Shadow Magnazone. It can shield once, fully farm me down, and exit with a ton of energy. I have one win con. Send in Kingambit, hope the Wild Charge doesn't KO, and if I survive, knock him out with a foul play. Wild Charge lands, I survive, I click the foul play, and they catch onto the guard chomp, instantly ending the game. Man, I did not realize their switch clock was up. That is entirely my fault there. If they didn't get the catch, if I was able to hold the energy, pivot into the Florges, I could have actually won the game, but unfortunately, we just made too many misplays. My opponent ended up playing very, very well, and this is actually a Magnazone that this team did end up losing to. I think if I had no-shielded the Kingambit as well and forced my opponent into going down a shield for switch advantage, that could have also put me in a winning position, just because Garchomp doesn't really have anywhere to go against the Florges Gyarados core. We move to the next match, Florges into Golisopod. Now this Golisopod is actually on Shadow Claw. Now Shadow Claw and Fury Cutter do the exact same damage per turn in this matchup. Obviously Fury Cutter is a 1-turn move, Shadow Claw is a 2-turn move, but over 2 turns they both do the exact same amount of damage. Aqua Jet really doesn't do a lot of damage. I full send Moonblast and my opponent will put up the shield. It looks like Florges has a very dominant zero shield matchup here. I can just no shield the Aqua Jet, blind tap the Moonblast, and this is gonna hurt. But my opponent sends in Metagross, catching the Moonblast, and that is just sloppy gameplay for me to let that catch happen. This past week, I was playing a lot of Competitors Cup because honestly, the new system really had a tough week. The game state was very, very poor trying to play the new system, so I ended up playing a lot of Competitors Cup. But obviously, Competitors Cup, the old system, has a ton of issues as well, and one of the issues is that turn waiting never works for me on the old system. So, after playing a week of old system, I had just gotten out of the habit of waiting turns, but when playing on new system, because turn waiting actually works, I have to get back in the habit of waiting. My opponent makes a second catch this game, sending in Golisopod and doing a peekaboo catch onto their own Kingambit. I rebank a foul play, send in Gyarados, and this is going to be a very tricky endgame to win. Kingambit does have a winning matchup into Gyarados. Even though Metal Sound is resistant, Foul Play will just consistently add up and do quite a lot of damage. Their Kingambit is outside of a range where 2 Aqua Tails will KO. Gyarados does have a slight pacing advantage, but I am down energy here. My opponent will go for Foul Play number 2. I'm going to be no-shielding and continue to farm. My opponent sends in Golisopod trying for the catch, but they don't get it, and now I'm able to fire off the Twister. Twister lands onto the Golisopod. I can bank a move and then send in Kingambit. Kingambit is very, very healthy, and that's good for me. Also, the fact that I banked energy on the Gyarados should put me in a very good position. So I fire off Foul Play at the Golisopod. Foul Play is going to be shielded, and that does end up being a CMP tie. Good to know that Kingambit does win Charge Tech priority over Golisopod. Golisopod fires off another move, but I'm able to outpace. I get the Foul Play. Foul Play is going to be securing the knockout, and now there's just simply no path forward for my opponent in this game. Even though I do have a move stored on the 1 HP Gyarados in the back, I'm going to try and win the game without it. My opponent will fire off energy, Foul Play will miss the knockout, I can go for Foul Play of my own, but likewise they should be able to survive. Kingambit should be able to make a move before I get the farm down, so I go for the Jugular, getting the catch onto the Florges. My opponent ends up full undercharging, so I can Fairy Wind down the Kingambit and secure the win. We move to the final match, Florges into Gyarados, and it's a Dragon Breath Gyarados, so this is an incredibly favorable lead. My opponent's going to stay in this matchup, and it looks like, at the very least for now, try and play it out. And this works out amazingly for me, because Florges does so well here. I'm a little bit worried about a catch, so I'm just going to keep farming. They're going to stay in, fire off another Aqua Tail, and I decide that's enough over farm. I'm just going to be full sending the Moonblast. I want to guarantee big damage or a shield. My opponent will put up the shield, but now I'm able to make it to a second Moonblast. This doesn't knock out the Gyarados by any means, but it will be putting the Gyarados critically low. Gyarados survives, but they're deep into the red HP. They can go for the Aqua Tail, but Florges will still be able to hang on. So Aqua Tail lands, Florges survives, my opponent pivots out, sending in Kingambit, but before they can Metal Sound down, I'm able to make the Chilling Water. Chilling Water will put them at -1 attack, and now I'm going to do something a little bit weird. I send in the Gyarados, farm up 5 Dragon Breaths of energy, and then bring my Kingambit into theirs. And that's because the best way to wall Kingambit energy is with your own Kingambit. This allows me to already start the endgame with half an Aqua Tail stored on the Gyarados and force my opponent to throw energy that is not only debuffed, but resisted. I'm just shy of 100 here, so I will fire off Foul Play at Kingambit. My opponent pivots back into the Gyarados, and I'm going to snipe it down with the Foul Play. Foul Play is going to be no-shielded. Gyarados gets KO'd. My opponent is going to bring back in their Kingambit, still obfuscating what that final Pokemon is in the back. Foul play lands, really not doing much. I can send in the Gyarados, but my opponent stored a ton of energy, and they have reset that Chilling Water debuff. Foul play is going to be shielded. I overfarm. They make it to another foul play. This Kingambit is on an absolute rampage. Foul play after foul play after foul play. In the back is Dragonite, and luckily I'm up enough energy on Gyarados that this game is going to be a win. Twister lands, that does do very nice damage. I'm just going to be full sending all of my charge stacks here just to guarantee that I can pressure away the final shield. And once the final shield is down, I can go for the combo play with Kingambit, firing off foul play. Foul play lands, Dragonite survives. I could just let this go and win with Gyarados, but this is the Kingambit show. I bottle capped this Kingambit, so I put up the shield, they switch in their Kingambit, opponent sees the writing on the wall, and concedes the match. All in all, I would call day number 1 of the Master Premier Cup a roaring success. Even despite the game being quite weird at times, this team was still able to go very, very positive. I did try a different team for a set. It was a non-Shadow Magnazone, non-Shadow Conkeldurr team. I've got to say, that team was really not cooking. That team went 1-4, and then I immediately benched the team, went back to this team, and ended up going positive because Kingambit is just awesome. I do think that Conkeldurr probably has legit play in this meta as the Shadow, but the non-Shadow Brutal Swings were just really not doing a lot of damage, and everything feels very, very bulky in the Master Premier Cup. This isn't really a meta where you can ever truly one-shot things with charge stacks. Even a Rhyperior taking a double super effective Aqua Tail from Gyarados, Rhyperior does actually survive that. So, in a meta where everything is bulky, the fact that you have a non-stab, non-Shadow Brutal Swing just really ended up feeling a bit underwhelming. But I definitely could see a world in which the Shadow Conkeldurr ended up being very cool. In my experience playing Magnazone, it kind of reinforced, I would say, the Magnazone slander that I have built up from playing against Magnazone. Magnazone, in theory, should be amazing. It has really interesting coverage, it should absolutely terrorize teams like mine, but somehow, it's still beatable. I did get reverse swept by the Shadow Magnazone player who made the really, really nice catch, but even leading into Magnazone with Florges, the fact that Florges can just beat it if it's not on Flash Cannon is just absolutely absurd. But Kingambit, I'm so happy that it remains a top-tier Master Premier Pokemon. It doesn't quite have the stats to compete in the Open Master League, but man, it is very bulky. Its typing feels very meta-relevant with how strong Metagross plus a lot of the Fairy types are. I didn't really see a lot of opposing Fairy types, and Snorlax appears to be basically gone. I saw 0 Snorlax on day 1, which is kind of crazy, considering that Snorlax used to kind of be the go to this format, but I guess time and power creep have not been the kindest to it. But day 1, this team felt quite strong, and Kingambit, as always, is an absolute menace. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed watching today's video, please do help support the channel by leaving a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and an extra special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide to the channel is so appreciated. Thank you guys oh so very much, and until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.